Hey guys, this is Eric from Mindful Trader. This video is going to be about how I short MES futures and also about how I combine multiple MES futures positions. Before we dig into that, I want to point out the disclaimer on the screen. This is important to read and to understand if you haven't seen it yet. It's worth pausing the video to familiarize yourself with it. That's the URL where you can go. You can type that into your browser and take a look, make sure you understand what exactly it is that I'm offering here at Mindful Trader and what the limitations are of what I'm offering. So a lot of the trades that I make that are part of my back-tested approach are for MES futures. The MES futures, I have it on the screen here in my trading platform. It's for the micro E-mini S&P 500. Another way of putting it is it's for the S&P 500 futures, the micro version of it. And I trade it a lot. I've done a lot of my research on these, on this particular ticker, on this S&P 500 futures instrument. So in other words, on the market itself and how the market as a whole tends to perform. And so sometimes I will make multiple trades on the MES futures. Like at the same time, I might have multiple positions. So whereas with my stock trades, I typically, I'll pick one ticker, I do one trade. I only trade stocks long, meaning I only buy them. I don't short any stocks. And I just go one ticker at a time with the stocks. With the MES futures, I have like a lot of different strategies that I use that work in conjunction sometimes and sometimes overlap each other. And so sometimes I might have multiple MES futures trades at the same time. And with the MES futures trades, sometimes, well, most times they're long. Every once in a while they're short, meaning that I will sell it before I even own it, and then I buy it back when it hits its target or when I'm ready to close it otherwise. So that is what I'm going to show you. First, I'm just going to show you simply how do I short the MES futures. Okay, let's start with that. So I'm in Thinkorswim. I'm in the chart screen right here. I'm going to double click this and go back to, this is like my normal grid for Thinkorswim, and I have a separate video that shows how to upload this grid if you want to, so that you can see the same thing yourself. And so here is the order ladder, the active trader. And if you don't use Thinkorswim, that's okay. Your trading platform might also have an order ladder setup. I know TradeStation, for example, does, and certainly other ones do as well. But you don't have to use it. That's what I like to use. It makes it really easy for me. So here I am, it's MES futures, and let's just imagine I want to place a transaction for 3 and I'm going to short it. For me to short it, if I just want to get in regardless, I just hit sell market. I'm in a paper trade scenario right here, so I can do this no problem. And you can see up here it shows I sold 3 MES futures. And I'm going to open this here. This is paper trading. But you can see here for MES, the quantity, the position that I have right now is -3. That means I'm shorting 3 positions. So I had 0 to start with, and then I sold 3. So that's one way to do it. So now to get out of the position, when I set my exits, my stop, because I'm selling it up front, I'm shorting it, that means that my stop loss will be above it, because as the price goes up, I would be losing money. As the price goes down, I would be gaining money, gaining profit. And so, on this order ladder window, when I buy stuff, normally you put your profit exit up here to sell, and you put your stop loss down here. When you short, it's the reverse. So if I want to get out of this position, I would buy basically. So we could try it there. It just filled me in paper trade environment here. And you can see now I no longer have an MES position because it bought the shares back, at the contracts I should say. So I went from -3 contract position, which means I'm short 3 contracts, and then I bought them, which washed out the order, that it cleared me from a position, and now I don't have a position anymore. So now you understand how exactly I go about shorting. You can set up the OCO order bracket just the same way that you do, but just in reverse, where you're setting it up on the buy side. So if you enter it with a short position, you set up buy side profit and stop loss bracket. with an OCO order. And I have a separate video that talks about how to set up that OCO order bracket. Okay, now imagine that there are two different positions for the MES futures. So what happens sometimes is I might make a trade. I say, okay, I bought the MES futures at say 4,000. I set a profit target at 4,100 and a stop loss at 3,900. And then a day or two later, there's another position. And I say, oh, now I bought the MES futures at 4,050 and a profit target at 41.25 and a stop loss at 39.75, let's say. And it's, sometimes I'll get questions from subscribers like, wait, there's already a position open. How do I deal with this? And basically, with these MES futures, you would stack the positions up and continue to set what I do. Let me put it that way. What I do is I stack the positions up. So I will enter the first one, set the profit target and stop loss, and then the next trade comes along. I go into the same ticker. I bring the same ticker up, and I execute the transaction as its own transaction. So this, say the second or even the third transaction that may overlap, I go in and enter the transaction as if it's its own unique transaction. And let me show you an example of that, okay? So let me go in and buy right now. So now I have a long position. I bought 3 contracts here. Okay, and now I could set up an OCO order. This is just a dummy order, just kind of meant to indicate how this works. And so I'm going to go up here and just place some exit somewhere. And so you can see here, I have now an OCO exit order. I have my profit target and my stop loss set up. But now imagine that I've gone and I have traded the MES futures again. I posted to the site that this is my latest trade. And you're looking at it, deciding whether you want to trade it. And you're like, wow, I'm already in a trade, but there's another MES futures trade that's set up. Pardon that, that's the closing bell of the live trading session here. I'm filming this right at the close of the US market. So if that's the case, you get to look at that information and decide if you want to trade it. And it just kind of gets stacked on top of the existing trade. So in other words, I'm going to retain the existing exits on the existing trade, the first one, but now with the newest trade that came out, if I decide I want to trade it, I just come right back to the MES futures where I currently have 3 contracts open long, and I say I'm going to buy more. So let's say it's another 3 contracts that I would buy for my position size. So I buy 3, oops. So now I have 6 positions open. And let's say that with this new trade, the exits were set much differently, okay? So now I'm gonna set up an OCO order. Again, just pretending that this is something different of some sort, okay? So imagine that. So maybe the second order has a way bigger OCO bracket. And now here I am, it's just one ticker, but I do have 6 positions open with 2 different sets of exits. And so in that way, I effectively have 2 different transactions going on this one ticker. Now, let's take it one step further and imagine that now I come up with a short MES futures trade that I post to the website. Let's see what that looks like. So imagine you already have 2 long positions on the MES futures looking just like this, and then I post a short trade that now it's going to be combined with those 2 long trades. It happens. So I have all these different strategies for the MES futures. Each one has its own criteria. They aren't meant to work in conjunction. They aren't designed that way, although they do work very well kind of in harmony with each other, but each strategy is independent. And so there might be 2 strategies firing long saying, hey, this is a good time to buy. And then a couple days later, the price may have gone up enough where then there is some sort of back-tested edge saying it could be beneficial to short. And so that could happen. And there are definitely times where I have multiple positions, sometimes in both directions open on the MES futures. And it can be a little bit confusing, I guess is a good word. If you try to, when I try to think too much about where I hope the price goes and all this, I don't do that. I just simply follow the trade rules. And so if the trade rules say now short with this type of position sizing, then I do it. And I set the profit, exit, and stop loss using an OCO bracket. If there's a time limit, I honor the time limit, and I follow the rules no matter what. And however the chips fall, they fall. I just want to stick to the back-tested rules. And so let's do an example of one. So let's say that with this short position, let's say that it ends up being five contracts. I do the position sizing calculation. I determine it's going to be 5 contracts I'm going to short. So I come in, I just immediately short. Oops, I need to change this back to day time in force. So now I shorted 5 positions, and now let's do the OCO order. And we can do it for anything we want here. I'll just pick something. So notice that I have 5 contracts in my OCO order. And yeah, let's just move this down some so it has a little bit more separation here. So now look at this chart. So first of all, on MES, I have now 1 net long contract, but that doesn't really tell the whole story, right? I actually have 3 different positions going on this one ticker, and you can see it's a really busy looking chart right here. I have these green lines represent the closing positions for my short positions, and all the red lines represent my closing orders for my long positions. And you can see they're kind of all over the place. Like if the price goes up, you know, it could trigger both of these, and then both those orders would be done and canceled. And so again, you don't really have to spend time trying to figure out where it needs to go or what needs to happen. As long as you get the orders set up, let the price movement take care of itself. Let the price movement do whatever it's going to do, and exit your orders one way or the other. The only other thing you'd have to worry about is potential time expirations. So I hope that helps you see how it is that I manage the cases where there's multiple MES orders that kind of jumble on top of each other. I just take the same ticker and I add on top of it, and it kind of nets these positions together. And that is what I do. And so I end up having a number of open orders at any given time when that happens. And I just wait for the price to take them out and close the positions over time, or I manually close them if an expiration hits. So that's it. I hope that helped. If you have questions, you can email me, Eric, ERIC @mindfultrader.com. Thanks, guys.